Oh, wow, I know, really, oh my
I'm
goodness.
saying it was John. John? Oh, Dan, sorry.
Oh, I'm gonna tell Jane, she was just here visiting. Yeah. Oh, I will.
I don't have a memory stick, so I don't know how.
Hey, Alex, just let me know when you're ready. Thank you. Okay, great. See? Great. Welcome to the Chatham Township.
Recording in progress.
Oh, sorry. Now we're good. Welcome to the Chatham Township Committee and Workshop meeting this Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. We are returned from executive session, and I kindly ask everyone to stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance. Great. Mr. LeConte, has adequate notice been given? Oh,
Yes, it's still good.
great. On to the first hearing of citizens. Mr. LeConte, could you kindly provide guidance?
Members of the public are now welcome to come up to the microphone to address the Township Committee. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearings tonight. Those present may step up to the microphone to be heard. If you're watching via Zoom, you may speak during any of the public comment sessions by following the Zoom instructions to raise your hand. Whether in person or online, when you are recognized to speak, please mind the following procedures. Please say your name, spell your last name, and give the name of your street. You do not need to give your street number. All public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Rather than use any of your time answering questions, the Township Committee will wait until you finish speaking before responding. There are 2 public comment sessions on tonight's agenda. Each member of the public will be limited to 1 comment of up to 3 minutes during each public comment period. Written comments submitted to the Township Clerk before 3 p.m. today will be read during the public comment sessions. Written comments are subject to the same guidelines as oral comments, and duplicative written comments may be summarized rather than read in full according to guidelines issued by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services. And there were not any written comments before 3 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. Do we have anyone online?
We do not have anyone online at all.
Great, thank you. I now invite anyone in the audience to come before the mic should they decide to do so. Good evening.
Hello, Asher Robeson, Pine Street, ROBSON. Sorry, I just came from work, but today I'm here to talk about my Girl Scout Gold Award. So I'm a rising senior at Chatham High School working on my Girl Scout Gold Award, and my award focuses on access to period products in public spaces. So period products are a basic human need, no different than toilet paper, and my initial goal for this project is to have free period products in the Library of the Chathams, with an ultimate goal of seeing all municipal libraries in New Jersey offer free period products. To do this, I've begun meeting and talking with Senator Ruiz, Assemblywoman Dunn, and a few others, but I want to start with my community of Chatham because that's where I am. I've begun talking to other libraries in New Jersey who offer free period products, and I've been emailing with Ms. Brodsky of the Library of the Chathams. I've also shared a survey within the community and the broader Girl Scout community as a whole, and I've been talking with elected officials in both of the Chathams as well as Livingston, as well as working with members of the New Jersey Assembly and Senate. So from my survey, I got results from New Jersey, Colorado, North Carolina, New York, Virginia, and Massachusetts. And within that survey, there were around 80 participants. 94% of them stated that they have started their period with no products while in public. 82% say that the lack of product availability has caused them some shame or embarrassment at some point in their life, as well as a survey with just the students where 70% have said that the free period products in schools have been very helpful, and 19% of those respondents don't have access to period products while in school. And then my final question stated that 89.7% say that free products in public libraries would be helpful for them. So I talked to the West Orange Library, and there I talked to David Cubey. I've also done a site visit there. They use AntFlow dispensers and products, and their guests per year are around 132,000, with their cost of products being $280 in September 2024 and $280 in February 2025. So an estimate of their yearly is $840, but they don't know their yearly yet. And then in Livingston, I've also talked to them, but I have yet to do a site visit. They distribute products in a little basket, and their guests per year, 273,000, with their cost being $200 to start their project, but now they rely on donations from the community. So in Chatham, what I want to do, or what I've been doing, is I've been emailing with Ms. Brodsky, the director of the Library of the Chathams, and they logged 213,000 visits in 2024, so I'll have to use that number to account for how much this project will cost yearly. And what I will be doing is raising money for the dispenser, which is around $300 to $500, depending on which one I use, and I'll be raising all of that money. And
If it pleases the other members of the committee, I certainly would encourage you to continue.
Okay.
Feel free to.
I've been working with Committeewoman Rowland each step of the way because she's one of my project advisors. I've also been talking to the Board of Health in Chatham Township. And I'm here tonight because I'd really love the support of the Township Committee and to make this a reality in Chatham. I'm really excited to see this happen, and what I would love from the committee is finance. My idea is that the township, the borough, and the Friends of the Library could finance this project in the future, and I'll be pricing out products based on, well, I've been pricing out products based on the current supplier of like toilet paper at the library and stuff. That way it can all stay within the same supplier. And I would also really appreciate a resolution to support this cause. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Asher, for coming before the governing body. I encourage you to come before the governing body anytime you'd like to voice an opinion or thought or share with us your work. I am delighted to see that you're continuing with the Girl Scouts, and I presume this effort is in connection with your Gold Award? Okay, so wonderful. It is a distinguished honor, so I'm excited for you to head down this path and reach completion as far as the project details that you've outlined. The topic at hand is certainly an important one. I think there's many injustices and inequities in the world and lack of access, and certainly this is no minor one. And I think, as you rightly pointed out, it's not. I think it does have a potentially significant emotional and development cascading effect on those who are struggling with access to period products. So I thank you for coming before us. I think one of the things that we can certainly do in the different ways we can support is offer up this platform as a way for you to have a voice to broadcast to the community at large and members who are here digitally and also in person to understand the goals of your project and what you're doing, and step forth and support or get involved or help to communicate the project to those beyond the community here. As I think you mentioned, you're looking at offer this type of service to multiple libraries, not just in the Chathams. So I thank you. I don't know if anyone else wanted to share or had some comments?
Yeah, I would just, echo that, and thank you for your efforts. Period products are crazy expensive, and for people, especially, dealing with rising costs across the board, I think that's important to provide, to help especially young women to have access, so I appreciate that. I don't know, do the schools give, okay. And then I was trying to understand the numbers. So one of the districts you mentioned, or one of the, I don't know if it was a library, but I think I heard something like 300,000 visits, and it only cost $800 for the year?
So that was Livingston or West Orange only has 132,000 visitors, and they're saying it's around 800 per year.
Okay,
And then Livingston was 273,000 with $200 to start, but then they now rely on donations from the
okay.
community.
And you're fundraising for the dispenser?
Mhm.
Okay.
And I'm also collecting products to start it.
Okay, wonderful. Great, that all sounds wonderful. I definitely think we can lend our support and certainly help you push this information out into the community, so hopefully they'll support it as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I most
Yeah,
certainly will. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, the only thing I would add is that I've seen more than a handful of Gold Award applications come through, not since I've been in this position, but as the father of 2 Girl Scouts. And I would say that what you've done so far and the preparation and all of that stuff is really spectacular. So thanks for educating us and providing all of the right statistics as well. You have my full support.
Thank you.
Asher, I too am a father of 2 girls, so please come speak to me as well. Certainly a project that resonates with me. Just as a final parting idea, have you ever tried reaching out to the large general consumer products companies? I know we've done this with food service, so we've done it with Cisco and others, and when I was a college student, but if you can find the right individual corporate department, and usually it's in the PR marketing,
Yeah.
they have a group of folks who actually are part of their mission is to support projects like this, and they can provide donations of products within their menu, period products.
Yeah, for sure.
Kimberly Clark or
I'm happy to try
Procter
to
and
connect
Gamble,
you
I'm sure
with some
they-
of Procter and Gamble.
They have folks who would be delighted to support you with the product donations, and I mean you can try to get some extra stuff out of them by offering up some corporate branding and co-branding effort there. I bet you can get the dispensers for free from these guys. So before you can use that money by buying more product and just get the dispenser for free from those guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, thank you.
If there's no one else within the audience, I now close the first hearing of citizens.
While we
we
wait
lost-
for Mr. Shahadi to return,
I will speak slowly.
was there any questions on the clerk's monthly report? Since I can address that if there's anything. Okay, then, Z, you're up.
So we're now in the workshop portion of our meeting.
So, for the sake of getting Dan out of here, because we have a professional here, engineering Dan, if you come up one of these chairs. We do have a couple items, unfortunately, John wasn't able to make it, but Dan knows his stuff, and we are in good hands with him. There are 3 items that I wanted to discuss with you. First, Esternay Field. So there was a memo included and a drawing there. Esternay Field, we received a complaint at one point, I believe maybe 2 years ago, a year ago or so, and we've been working on it, not for, we don't ignore issues. The complaint was about accessibility, ADA accessibility at the field, and so we've been researching the issue and trying to come up with a solution to ensure that we are compliant at that facility for individuals with accessibility needs, and the firm put together, after some back and forth with Rich, myself, and John, put together a recommendation and a cost estimate, and want to run this by you, see if you have any questions, concerns. Given the cost proposal, it may be something that we would have to go out to bid for, but it was, because it's an open space property and we do allocate funds for each open space property annually in the open space budget for maintenance, we do have the funds necessary to complete this project, but wanted to brief you on this, see if you have any questions, concerns, feedback for us on the design. Dan's here to address that.
I had a question. So, and I do appreciate that there, because one of the reasons why we couldn't allow traffic up to that area was because kids are walking back and forth. So I did see there's a walking path that's addressed. But, you know, in my mind, if we were going to spend $75,000 to get this done, I was wondering if it's feasible to put in more than one spot. I mean, is there something about that space that we can only get one spot in?
Yeah, unfortunately, the topography of the site and the available area to create an accessible pedestrian route from the space to the field, which is the second element, you know, so the driveway itself is very steep, so you need the parking space near the top, near the entrance to the field. But the second element is having a flat enough grade from that parking space to the field entrance. So that's why, and also needing an accessible aisle, which essentially takes up the space of 2 parking stalls. So yeah, with the limited room and the grades that are there, 1 parking stall is really all that's feasible.
To the extent you consider more than one, it's not that they need to be together. So, in other words, is there not space closer to the playground? Can we not consider that area?
Just a question, are you thinking the upper or lower playground?
Yeah, the upper.
Upper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
It could be possible, but it would take substantial additional grading than what we're showing on the concept plan, and likely retaining walls, increasing the cost substantially. So what we've got now on the concept plan is basically what you could grade and construct without the need for retaining walls. So it could be done, but with retaining walls, I think, and increasing the cost.
Yeah, one
So-
of the initial drafts we reviewed was the parking lot by the playground, and the amount of effort and work that was required was just so substantial. That's when we looked at this, because it's not just in the parking there, the same thing as Dan said, it's then access to the field as well. And there's one gate, so one opening in that fence across from where the stall is, so then we also have that issue to deal with.
What actually is our obligation to be in compliance with?
As in how many spots, or?
No. The actual project itself with the path itself. In other words, we received a complaint, it's not ADA compliant. What is our obligation to be ADA compliant? Do we have to do this?
Public,
Yeah.
the field is for public use.
Yes.
The upper field, so technically, yes, it
Okay.
does need to comply with the ADA. There should be some access. Initially, we looked at feasibility of pedestrian access all the way from the bottom, but the steepness of the driveway is just too much. It's not feasible. So the only option we could come up with was expanding the top of the driveway near the field to create just one space.
And it's $75,000 for the, you know, to get this in place. In terms of maintenance, well, I have 2 questions actually. But in terms of maintenance, what should we anticipate?
So the maintenance costs should be a lot less. My meeting with Rich on site a month ago, which was after a rainstorm, but nothing like last night, there was a large erosion channel in the driveway, in the gravel driveway. And that's basically because the field itself and hillside above the field creates a lot of stormwater runoff, and the driveway is sort of carved into the hillside, so it almost acts as a conveyance. And Rich anecdotally was telling me that after every substantial rainstorm, he's out there with his crew trying to fill in the erosion channel and regrading and compacting. So paving this once and installing a rolled asphalt curb to sort of control the runoff, at least to get it, to convey it to the bottom of the hill where it goes now without eroding the driveway every single time, should actually be a benefit with respect to maintenance.
Just two questions, and no one else has any. Once you're up at the top where the parking spot is, have you done, or do you feel the need to do like a turning radius calculation, make sure that, because there will be people leaving the field and coming down, and then you could theoretically have a vehicle that's trying to do a multi-point turn to get out.
So, yes, so correct, Mayor, yes. The parking stalls were laid out at a 90-degree from the driveway, so that you could pull in and then back out and turn regularly as if you were in a normal parking aisle. Now, we're proposing now a 14-foot wide pavement area for the aisle to turn into, or to back into. 4 feet of that would be striped off for pedestrian access. 10 feet of that would be for the single car. So with it striped, with a nice wide stripe, with the markings, and with the layout that we have, it should be typical of what you would see in a typical parking lot, as far as pulling in and backing out of the one stall.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what is that noise? It's
Yeah,
killing
that's
me.
what I've been working with Jack. There's a sensor issue with one of the fire alarms, and it keeps going on and off. I'm talking to DPW about this, trying to get it resolved. Sorry, that's why we were leaving the room.
I didn't hear it before, but now.
Oh,
I
yeah,
do.
no, that's why I've been going in and out. We're trying to get this resolved, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brady.
Fun.
The second question I had is on the concept plan. I did not see any signage at the bottom to indicate that an ADA spot is up
Available.
at the top. And we refer to it as Upper Esternay, right?
Okay.
Yeah, oh, that's fine. My only thought is we have many out-of-town invitees by nature of it being an athletic field. So if there isn't one, I might suggest posting it at the bottom so that an invitee driving in, who then realizes my child's playing Upper Esternay, has a spot up at the top.
Good suggestion. Thanks, Mayor. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when it came up also, they weren't necessarily, because we restrict access, I don't know if there's a sign, but it came up more so because they weren't, whatever signage is there, they didn't think they could drive to the top. And we had talked about whether or not we should just have signage that says, access for ADA vehicles only, but that's not, it's not actually truly accessible, even if you could pull your car up there, I guess is what you're saying.
The way the driveway is used now, and its current state of gravel eroding constantly, the DPW out there, it's really only used by DPW maintenance trucks and equipment at this point. So paving the driveway is really almost, it's elemental to making this use, safe for the public, to have it a safe driveway for a public use. As I said, right now, to my knowledge, speaking with DPW, they're the only ones that really use the driveway. They've told me that everyone parks down below and walks up by foot. So I think it's intimidating myself when you drive up to it as it is now. I did not drive my own car up the driveway. I had Rich drive me up the hill in the DPW truck. So I think paving the driveway is an elemental part of this for
So other people
improving.
will go up the hill aside from just,
Right.
people who are disabled and need the parking spot. We're not looking to encourage people driving up the hill, are we?
No.
The signage, we could work out the signage.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
After construction, or, just be, ADA parking only with an arrow or something like that,
One stall,
Right.
clear, make it clear that there's one stall available, yeah.
Okay. We're not in a rush if we want to kind of noodle on this, right?
Not at all.
Not a huge rush, but we do have to, we've been demonstrating efforts, we're doing everything that we can do, but we, can't just sit on it too long, so.
Okay.
Yeah, make sure you're comfortable with it, let me know if there's thoughts, on next steps, if you wanna do something else. But yeah, I mean, we would, because of the construction, we definitely are gonna have to go out to bid on this, it's over the threshold, so, we'll have to go out to bid on it. So John and Dan will prepare the bid specs, so, do need some idea of when you want us to direct them to start preparing the bid specs. August, we can talk about it some more? Or,
That works for me. I don't know how you guys feel. You're ready to move forward. I kind of want to look at the space. Not that I could second guess the engineers, but I want, yeah.
Anyway, so we don't have a resolution to authorize that
Oh, okay.
anyways, so in August, we have the authorization to bid, but then, we wanna have Dan, start working on those bid specs as soon as possible.
Is the thought to have it done this year?
I mean, just again, from an ADA compliance, we have to
Yeah.
keep going, right?
Right.
We can't stall on it. I think it's great for for the fall sports, because that's when we were getting complaints. So,
Yeah.
if we can get it done before then, or just even in the middle of the season, but, that's when fall sports, I don't know, soccer's usage there, how, when, I think they're playing both seasons now, right?
Yes.
So,
Dan, how long do you think it would take to do that process?
I would estimate it could be done within a week or two. Yeah.
yeah. So if we authorize, authorize in August, publish the notification, award the bid, let's say September, best case scenario, worst case scenario, October, and then get it done, it could be done end of October. Going.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. I don't mind taking a look at it real quickly, too, so.
Okay.
And when we were ready, I'd like to make these documents, this particular concept plan, available on the website if we could.
Which, are you, before we go out to bid, or to, for feedback, or what exactly,
Well, I guess there, the addition of the signage might be helpful, and then, I mean, maybe even just having that addition made, and then, a concept plan out there for consideration.
Especially if we want to move forward in August. Now would be the time to put it out there as a draft and get input.
I'd love to get the leftover macadam from the road paving.
I
Get
think-
it for pennies on the dollar.
Okay. What kind of input are we, I mean, it's very technical stuff here, and very limited,
That's
there's not much choice here.
I don't know, I think to your point, just having it posted and
Okay.
available, and to the point where, our meetings are public and we're encouraging people to weigh in, just giving them maybe sort of a written comment or two, just to weigh in on our next meeting.
Okay.
One thing, if I may, just, one thing that, just from personal experience, I don't know if there is the ability to allow, and I know it's tricky because of, not wanting to encourage people to go up the, oh, thank you, to drive up. But like, for example, I can't bring my parents to any of my kids' sports because they can't walk. So like, I don't have a sticker, but I could drive them there, drop them off, and then go park, and then I can walk up. So I don't know if that's functionally gonna be something that's gonna be able to be done there. With a one stall, with the turnaround, I don't know. Seems like you're limited, but that's just something to think about, Dan.
If someone's parked in the stall, yes, that would be a limited.
Yeah.
And so I think the signage is a good suggestion. It's important that someone look and see if the stall is in use before they start driving up the hill. I can talk to John Rushke about this and
Yeah.
think of how we can do this.
You'll have a line of sight from the bottom.
You do,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
It's pretty steep.
It's very steep.
Come up with a light system.
Green means you can go up.
Yeah.
Red, no go.
Too late, right?
All right.
So where we're leaving off on this is,
We're
minor
gonna-
modification put on the website, and then this is going on August?
August
How-
with an authorization to bid, and hopefully at that point we'll have bid specs, or at least draft bid specs, so that way we can post them, any revisions or changes to those, and then that's it. Okay. Next topic, River Road Sewer Service Area Amendments. We had discussed this a few months ago after we did a public input session. It seemed like the conclusion of our discussion, I should say, was that we would sit on this, think about it, and revisit it at some later point to decide what direction we want to proceed with this. And that's where we are today. It's back on the agenda just to see if there's been any thoughts, whether we want to maintain the status quo, which is no changes, no amending, taking River Road out of the sewer service area, keep it in or take it out. So the status quo is keep it as is, the change would be to take it out. The public session was not really overwhelming in either direction. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think you only had like 4 people, and I think it was 1 for, 1 neutral, and partially 2 against, or not even
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
1 misunderstanding and 1 against, so not, and there was notice that went out to everybody who would be impacted.
Correct.
Yeah, so, I mean, and the only reason this came up is because those residents had a concern with dense development in that area, and this would be one way to kind of mitigate that, is if you can't put, sewers in there, then, or if it's out, it lessens the impact. Plus, I thought there was a whole state requirement, and there was or a state revisit of,
The master plan, like the state master plan.
yeah, but there was a thought that this would definitely qualify for being removed from the sewer service area. That's my recollection. Am I stating that correctly?
No, I think you've stated it all correctly.
Okay.
But the debate, or rather the uncertainty, was whether removing it really does have an impact of actually limiting the density development there anyways, because the developer who truly wanted to do work there could still petition the state to have that included. Correct, Dan?
Yes, that's correct.
So
Yeah,
we
it sounded
would be
like it was a
going
more
forward-
laborious process, though.
Correct, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you
it's a
can speak to the
deterrent.
process.
The process of
Removal.
removing it.
Adding, is that the question? Like if a developer wanted to develop there,
Yes.
what would that look like, Dan? If we took it out and the developer still wanted to work there, do you know what that would
So,
look
sorry, just to recap, so when there was a look at putting 74 units on River Road, there was a whole discussion because sewers would have to be put in, and to put the pipes in was gonna be 1.4 million plus, of course, that's even more now. But that, and then, of course, the residents, didn't want that, it doesn't, in their opinion, didn't fit, and there's all kinds of environmental issues, there's a whole bunch of reasons why. So that's how the discussion started, but those are all the other steps that would need to take place. I mean, it's not just put it back, petition the DEP to put it back in the sewer service area, then you've also gotta contend with financing the
there's the
infrastructure.
cost associated.
Yeah, to put in
Right.
that dense development.
Which exists, that cost exists whether it's in the sewer service area or not.
Yeah.
They still have to bear that cost. The administrative process is probably the easiest for them, rather than funding and actually doing all of that.
Were there not also environmental considerations as part of, determining whether or not, on taking that portion out of the sewer service area?
Yes, Mayor, as John explained it to me, the River Road, this area along River Road, you know, is essentially every property on the streams, the riverside has some sort of a wetlands or flood hazard area restriction or element to it. And then on the high side of River Road, almost every property has a steep slopes to contend with as far as when you're talking about development. So yes, you know, developing these properties has its environmental challenges and concerns, for sure. So that's something to consider when in this debate.
So do members of the committee feel they need additional information or time to consider further, or are we in a position to put this on the agenda for the next meeting?
Put what on the agenda is also the question.
Taking it out.
To remove it.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So to remove it, we would need request a proposal from John's firm, you know, outlining the work involved to do that, and a cost estimate, so that way you could authorize that. That's kind of step number one to do that. So if you do want to move in that direction, let me know. I mean, Dan's here, but that's what would be the next step then if you wanted to remove it. Removing it or keeping entirely, obviously, your choice. I would just suggest that you already have heard that there are a number of limitations to it, to developing there. So why take on that additional expense and hurdle of doing this if you already have a number of other barriers to that development? And the status quo, rather than upset the status quo, there's no overwhelming demand from folks to remove it, right? So you just end up annoying those people who are upset with the status quo, you know, who don't want the status quo changed, only to create yet another hurdle when you already have at least 2 hurdles there that aren't costing us anything. But if you want to kind of close to seal the deal, then yes, this is a move to go in, but that's just something I think to evaluate, right? And I don't know what the process is or about how much, I'm putting you on the spot, Dan, but you know, how much effort is involved. If you had to say like 10 hours, 30, there's some mapping, maybe surveying, and then DEP application.
It's wastewater management plan amendments are a substantial amount of engineering work. It's not something that's, you know, it's a sizable application, and yeah, so.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to put a proposal.
I don't know the number. I don't know the number,
You know,
and yeah.
is it a 3-page form, or is it something more than?
It's involved.
Okay.
It's involved, and time, and it takes time.
Okay.
What's the biggest downside of leaving it as is? What am I missing?
Yeah, again, like I said,
Just
it was a
environmental?
response more so to the community, you know, when there was this risk of this large, you know, at the time it was like 5 or 6 stories going up on River Road.
Right.
So that's how it came up, but the follow-up discussion to tell people, okay, this is on the docket, there just didn't seem passion one way or the other. So I agree, in my opinion, in the absence of what seems to be community interest anymore, maybe just not stir the pot.
Yeah, I mean,
Any
I think if we
curveballs?
were responding to a lot of issues or complaints or something that justified it, but I'm having a hard time understanding why we would go through all of that expense.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a major environmental issue, which, I mean, I'm sure there is an environmental issue, but like not massive enough to address it, I think, from my understanding.
Well, it's more so associated with development there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with dense development. Which is, and that's the environmental issues will always be an obstacle to the dense development,
Sure.
so. Yeah, again, it becomes important when it becomes important, so that's the,
Well, I'll hop on that, and it becomes important, so I'm good with just tabling it until somebody wants to bring it up, because I don't see a compelling need to go and spend money to
yeah.
figure out just for the sake of knowing what it would cost. I just don't see the need at this point.
Yeah.
Until something occurs.
Yeah, I appreciate all the effort so far, but
Yeah.
I think we have our answer for now.
Okay, thank you.
Not to speak for the mayor.
Yeah. All right, next item. Next item, we did receive a report of the traffic and site distance analysis from a safety perspective of the intersection at Fairmont Ave and River Road. This is, my understanding, has been an ongoing issue here in Chatham, but more so highlighted with the construction over the bridge and the temporary traffic light. So John and Dan put together an analysis with data from the police department. On the one hand, we wanted to be proactive and take a look at it. On the other hand, it's also skewed data because of the light. So, but even with that, Dan, you can elaborate on the summary of it, but it's the traffic does not warrant a light, but they did find that there are improvements that can be made or should be made to improve safety there. And the recommendation, right, was further analysis after the light, but that is unlikely to add to the merits of a light. Dan, anything else?
Yes. So the intersection itself, if we're designed today as it is, it would be substandard with respect to geometry. The roads, the way they line up, it's not the greatest. NJDOT has standards for this, and it's substandard with respect to geometry. There's also site distance issues. We looked at site distance for traffic coming down Fairmount Avenue, stop sign, and traffic coming up Central Avenue to the stop sign. And both directions, there's site distance issues currently. So the recommendation with respect to this would be all we've done to this point is done some field observation and look at aerial photography. Really, we would recommend doing a ground survey and getting more information as far as topography so we can generate more accurate site distance profiles. Site distance is not just horizontal looking from point A to point B, but it also has a vertical element when you're looking at the elevation, the driver's eye to the elevation of car. And so we don't have that information at this point. But certainly there are issues with site distance. And we made some, in the end of our report, we made some, we recommended some possible improvements that could be done without needing to install a traffic light that would improve the situation currently the way it is. The traffic light analysis, as far as that's concerned, NJDOT standards defer to the Manual of Uniform Traffic Devices, which have 10 warrants, basically. And these warrants, if you qualify, if your traffic counts or your conditions at the intersection tilt one of these warrants, it's not a definite need for a traffic light, but it basically is a trigger for you to consider a traffic light. Currently, out of the 10 warrants, there was one that was triggered. But as Z said, the traffic count data we're using right now is traffic counts after the detour was put in place. So it's, traffic coming east on River Road, a lot of it, some of it may have been going down Passaic Avenue. We just don't know. Passaic Avenue Bridge closure right now, traffic's being detoured down to that intersection from both Chatham Township side and the New Providence Berkeley Heights side. So the traffic counts that we looked at now may be a little bit inflated at the intersection than they would otherwise be if the bridge was open. So with respect to the traffic light warrants and looking at traffic counts, we're recommending that this be revisited post-bridge completion after the detour is removed so we can get more accurate data. we're not dismissing it completely simply because the numbers that we have now do hit one of these 10 warrants. So that's where we stand. That's kind of where we are right now. We're looking at doing a ground survey, get some more detailed information as far as site distance and geometry to evaluate what we could potentially do at the intersection from a construction standpoint without the benefit of a light, and then getting some additional traffic count data further down the line to see if the data that we have now is either verified or discounted.
Yeah. So thanks for that analysis, if I may. I think it was really thorough and really helpful, and obviously skewed with all of the bridge construction and everything, as you may or you probably don't know. There was quite a lot of chatter about this on social media, with a majority of people saying finally there's a light going in, albeit temporary, and I think that there was a lot of relief about that. So I think that having this data was really good, because there were certainly a few people that were in the opposition of that for a variety of reasons, particularly those whose driveways were being blocked by the presence of a light, understandably so. But I think how we can improve that intersection would be a great service to this community, because with or without a light present there, the line of sight is really challenging, and the speed with which vehicles travel down River Road should probably be considered and taken into consideration as well too, and particularly for cars that are trying to not necessarily make a left turn or a right turn off of Fairmount, but going straight through that intersection is a particularly dangerous spot. So however we can actually address that, irrespective of a light, I would very much welcome that conversation.
Yeah, I concur with a lot of that, because being down in that area a lot, coming from the east, there is oftentimes a false stop right on River Road, which causes people to react differently. And so I think by configuration, as much as anything else, can certainly improve that location. And being that hopefully not too far away in the distant future, we will have a bridge over in Passaic. Getting accurate counts would certainly be worth waiting, but that's no reason not to look at what that configuration improvement may be to be able to consider that. So, thanks.
As somebody who constantly goes through that intersection and crosses River Road, I can appreciate where people were happy about the light, because it's a mindless, you don't have to think anymore. Where before, especially coming from New Providence, Berkeley Heights, and crossing over River Road, you have the kind of blind spot on the left. So you have to be, super cautious. You're back and forth. It's like playing chicken on the road. So I appreciate where that feedback is coming from. Part of what you said in the report was that there wasn't enough right of way, I guess, to fix the geometry.
The current right-of-way space is somewhat limited. I think with a more detailed survey, we would know exactly what we're dealing with, but it does appear that it's limited with respect to how much more additional space could be used to widen radiuses or even reconfigure the geometry of the intersection. Right-of-way acquisition is a whole other thing that I'm not really prepared to speak to, but it's challenging. That intersection, the way the right-of-way is now, does present an additional challenge, because there's not a lot of additional right-of-way space for expanding, but we're creative. We might be able to figure something out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people have recommended four-way stop signs, and of course, other people don't like that. I know you guys had the flashing stop signs, that seemed to help. And I did see moving forward the stop line, so that people are paying attention to that. So, yeah, it's a tough one, but whatever. I think it's worthwhile to do the study because my biggest worry, and this is more so I think for the chief, which I don't, when Z starts paying attention, I'll.
No, I can't promise that.
I'm more concerned when that traffic light comes away because people's habits, they're not accustomed to having their real attention. So we're gonna have to figure something out in the transition, certainly. And that's more so for the chief or,
And also also a communications effort too, to let people know, because there's gonna be a lot of chatter, whoa, we want one back, and I think that this data will be really helpful.
yeah.
If I may offer a contrarian view on this. So, I am looking at the statistics you gave with no real relevant context other than I'm looking at numbers. Is it your opinion that the intersection is unsafe based on historical crash data and incident data, or you described it as suboptimal, I think, or maybe that wasn't the terminology. It was substandard. Okay, so substandard, but that may not necessarily in and of itself prompt a need to reconfigure. Correct? I mean, there's plenty of pre-existing substandard or configurations.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And the crash data, it was a little, a bit all over the place, to frankly be frank. There was one year where it seemed like a lot of crashes in one year, and then not many for several years before and after. So, unsafe might be a strong, that one year where I don't have it in front of me. There was one year where there was several crashes, and it looked like a blip on the radar statistically. So you're correct.
So again, I'm not interpreting it other than
Yeah.
saying it was one recorded crash in, I think, whatever time period, 10, 20 years. I'm not representing if that's safe or unsafe. I'm trying to understand from you whether or not you interpret it as safe, unsafe, or not enough data, some other position.
More or less inconclusive data.
Okay.
But that's warrant 7 though.
It is.
Right,
And
you guys did address that. I mean, so we had, since 2020, no more than 2 crashes a year. Prior to that, there was, as Danny's saying, that fluctuation, but since 2020, in the last 5 years, there's been no more than 2 crashes per year. And I think you guys said that really, that does not, right, like, that's not satisfying. If you just look at those 5 years, that's not satisfying the warrant.
correct.
So,
Cur-
in that
Current
case-
conditions.
Right. Kind of one of the things I was saying to Tiana earlier was just how I've dealt with this in other towns, both as an elected official, even when it comes to paving streets, right? People, you want to improve these intersections, you want to improve these roads, but they also have the opposite effect, right? Like when you streamline the intersection, you make it flow and it's so safe, people are going to fly through it, and they're going to be like, oh, well, this is a convenient intersection to go through, it flows. When people are looking at like, whoa, what the heck am I doing here? They're slowing down. It actually makes it a little bit, calmer, calms the traffic down, and gives people a moment to pause before just thinking, I got the right of way, and they fly through. Same thing with paving, right? People, the potholes, and they want all these different things, and then now you've got this smooth runway, and you start seeing more speeding going on. So just a counter argument to it. I'm not saying that's the rationale, but the data, at least just under warrant 7 crash experience for the last 5 years has not been justified.
Well, Mr. Shahadi, when I was reading the document, I got super excited because I thought where we could go with this is the installation of a roundabout.
I
which
would be excited about that too.
To me, and I'm no expert, but as a layman, and what I know in terms of circulation is you eliminate the running of red lights. You, by design, dictate a slowdown of vehicle speed. And so when I started reading this, there was a passing comment about roundabouts, and perhaps, and I think you alluded to earlier, we may not have the right of way, but, so then I got deflated and I sat back in my chair. But before we go start spending money, I want to be a little cautious because it sounds like we're really restricted other than in terms of a new configuration. All it really is gonna be is just installation of permanent lights, I think is what we're more or less gonna be left with.
Not
Or do we have realistically, at this time, your opinion that we, subject to further study, can conceivably have other configurations for consideration?
There are some things that can be done at at the intersection
Okay.
that we highlighted at the end of the report. Increase, like I said, the right-of-way space does appear to be limited, but when you're talking about a roundabout, and I agree wholeheartedly with
And
what
don't
you
have
were
to wait at
saying
a
about
red
a
light
roundabout.
late at night, right? You're not just sitting there.
Like the
wasting time
idea,
at a red light, right?
But yes, everyone keeps moving. But we could, you could increase the turning radiuses. We could look at the optimal positioning of the stop bars as to where they are now, where they could potentially be moved to. The stop bar being the wide stripe where everyone's supposed to stop, and relocating those. There's some clearing that could be done within the right of way. Again, if we know exactly the location of a tree, is it the township's tree? Is it the township's shrub, or is it a privately owned tree? So if it's in the right of way, it could potentially be removed and help open up site distance. So with a survey, there is some benefits to seeing exactly where those right of way lines fall, and where I think there's also a retaining wall on the west side as you're coming down Fairmount Avenue, where that falls. We don't have that information currently, and that might be good to know. So I do think there's some benefits to doing a planimetric and topographic survey with respect to evaluating potential improvements that could be made to the intersection without a traffic light.
Dan, for the sake of, Mayor, if I may, for the sake of figuring out options for the governing body right now, I see two things, well, three. One of them is do nothing, which I don't think we want to do, but the other two are, one, either proceed with, get us a proposal to do the survey and proceed with that, as quickly as we can, or two, wait until the bridge reopens, traffic is kind of back to normal, do an analysis of the traffic first, see how that changes the analysis of the warrants, and then proceed with the survey if you want or not. So either do the survey now and go ahead with that, or wait until the bridge is reopened and then evaluate whether to proceed with the survey. Most likely you will do it anyways, but at least you have the traffic data post-traffic modifications, and then you can have a more accurate representation of what that looks like. Is that?
That makes sense.
I would assume that seeing the regular flow of traffic would help in your analysis of what to be done at that intersection, correct?
Definitely with respect to the traffic count evaluation and looking at the warrants for the traffic light, that, yes.
But even if you remove the consideration of a traffic light, which I'm gonna guess that it's not gonna warrant it, would the regular flow of traffic, once the bridge is open, help with your analysis of what's to be done at that intersection for, sight lines and stoppage points and all those things, or it's irrelevant? You can figure it out now.
It's the traffic data, it wouldn't, I don't think it would be, it's not as relevant to the geometry, which is, so sight distance is as the intersection is configured right now, and as the current traffic pattern is, with River Road being the flow through and the two stops at Central and Fairmount, it becomes more of a geometric evaluation, and looking at when you're looking at sight distances. So the traffic data may help some, but I don't know. I think you could go forward without it and look at the geometry and look at site distances without it and come to the same conclusions, I think.
Yeah, that's why I suggested it, because on the one hand, at least you know, to, I think, Committeewoman Ewald, you were mentioning, you know, when the light comes out, people are gonna be, so if we move ahead with the survey, at least we've got that going, and we might have the results of their survey before, and at that point, you're able to move more quickly. Cause I mean, just my observation and opinion is that light is not gonna be warranted.
I agree.
So, it's nice to do the survey, to do that count, at least then you can present that data to the public, but I can't see that that reduction it's gonna call for a light. And if it does, then great, but if you're gonna put a light, you're probably still gonna wanna make some improvements to that intersection anyways.
Correct.
So, you're probably a good idea to move ahead with the survey, if you want to make improvements at this intersection anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 2 warrants that met the requirement, but it sounds like they barely met the requirements. There's a good chance they both drop off. But we're absolutely gonna need improvements there, so I would wanna, I agree, proceed.
Yeah.
Because maybe once the light is removed, we can either have those in place already, or,
And the benefit for me is, from a budgeting perspective, to know for 2026, if we are gonna do a survey and we're gonna look at what those improvements are, it gives them the lead time of being able to give me some estimates, so I can plan for that in 2026, if that's something.
Yeah, and frankly, I think you're technically taking something away from a handful of residents that are very happy that it's there, and you're giving them something to replace it with in some capacity, or an answer as to what we might potentially be replacing it with, and I think that's a good thing, so.
wait, sorry, I thought this
Just
was
from
gonna start sooner. You're talking about 2026. When's the light coming in?
No, I'm not
Oh, no,
necessarily.
Z said
sa-
2026.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying.
I'm saying the survey could
Yeah.
start this year,
Oh.
potentially, depending on, again, get a
Right.
proposal, we may have some money left in the road budget for that work, I have to look at the engineering budget, but if the actual construction of it is gonna be, I'm just throwing out a number, there's not gonna be less than $200,000 in work to that intersection. You're talking about curbs and, you know, paving associated with that, striping, just whatever those reconfigurations are.
Clearing maybe.
Yeah, it's, right, I don't think it'll be less than $200,000. Might be 150, I can't see it being much cheaper than that. And I don't think we have that money in the current capital budget. This wasn't planned for, so that, knowing what that number is gonna be based off the survey, and then I can use that for the 2026 capital planning process.
You reminded me, because I meant to ask this on the ADA. Are there grants that qualify for traffic calming or for the ADA?
There are
Accessibility.
grants, but, you know, they're depending on the round and when we wanna do the work, and, you know, this may qualify. There's a number of grants. I mean, if we're gonna be putting crosswalks there, that probably helps qualify, right, Dan? If we're gonna be putting ADA crosswalks.
Potentially.
That could help but this is not I don't think it makes a very compelling grant application to improve this intersection. Just also based on the data, we don't have, like, if you've got an intersection, and Dan, you could probably speak to this more, but I've seen a lot of DOT grants, like, they wanna look at, do you really have accident to really justify other intersections around the state that are probably competing for these funds. This is not a very high application. You know, like I said, I think it starts becoming more compelling when you start incorporating ADA issues, but we don't have crosswalks there right now. And so then it's, where are they leading to? But that could be a start. You put crosswalks if you do think, you know, we need crosswalks there. And then, because what you're doing is you're creating ADA compliant crosswalks with the curb cuts and the ramps. We don't have any of that right now. So if that becomes part of their recommendation and their analysis, might make for a more compelling grant application, but either way, we still gotta have that money budgeted in case the grant doesn't come through and you wanna proceed with it.
Yeah, I mean, there is sidewalks, Fairmount to Central, and then across Fairmount on River. Isn't there sidewalk over there on the river?
Oh, River, yeah,
But not,
further down,
Not that, not
Right.
there.
not far down.
Yeah, not
It
there.
starts further west.
Yeah, it's much farther.
But you can certainly make the argument in favor of the grant, that this would be a precursor to be able to enhance pedestrian walkability, right?
Let's get, yeah, I mean, but I think we need to get the survey going, if that's, if we're going there, my point is, like, for budgeting purposes, the sooner we move ahead with this, the more helpful it is for us to plan for 2026 to actually do the construction, if that's what happens.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, Dan, tell John I need a proposal.
I will.
And you're gonna look for grants for Esternay too.
Yes. That one may be possible, actually.
Yeah.
That one may be possible. All right, so that's it for those listed discussion items. There are, under the agenda, a number of resolutions. We did talk about some of them in workshop, but I just want to make sure there's no questions before Dan leaves. The first one is submission of municipal aid grant application for River Road. That's the annual DOT grant application for road repaving. This is for River Road for 2026 grant application. Any questions on that? Okay. The other one, Southside Pump Station Generator, fairly self-explanatory. It's been in our capital. John's firm reviewed that. Mike Hajar's been working on that. That was in our capital from last year, so we've got the proposal for that. Any questions on this? Okay. The WPC proposal, we did get that proposal from John's firm. He's been here a number of times talking to us about, you know, all the major capital investment and infrastructure improvements at the WPC. This is the proposal to prepare the iBank application and for the headworks and all of that. Any questions there? And the contract for Hillside Ave improvements, we talked about that at workshop. Anything else?
Do we have a update on the timing of the Safe Routes to School first project?
We've got a pre-con when?
This Thursday.
This Thursday. So we'll have an update for you after that.
Thank you.
The Hillside Trail, what were the changes? I don't recall seeing that.
Hillside, not Hillside, Hillside Avenue. It's the road paving.
I thought
Is
I
that what you're talking about,
read,
this
I thought there were,
resolution?
that I read there were some enhancements, maybe it was, stormwater management enhancements?
For the Hillside Avenue though, or
For the
Hillside Trail?
trail, well, it was
For
the
the-
Hillside Avenue, but I thought it said that there were some Hillside Trail aspects incorporated.
The scope of the project for the Hillside Avenue improvements does include, as a supplemental bid item, to do some work at the trail site where stormwater currently comes down the hill through a channel and onto the road. Drainage, stormwater runoff from Fairmount Avenue. That's part of this as a supplemental bid item. But there is we've developed a separate set of plans and specifications for the Hillside Trail site itself, which is
But
not,
that has nothing to do with.
not to do with
I was
this.
mixing the two, but I also did remember that.
There,
Thank you.
we have a little bit of, yes, carryover.
I was mixing the two. Great, thank you.
Sure.
Is Dan released? Okay, no questions on John's
Thank you, Dan.
report otherwise?
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Mayor, committee members. Thank you.
Thank
Dan.
you.
Thanks, Z.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Dan was my daughter's swim coach,
Oh, really?
one of the coaches, yeah.
Okay, next up, construction. Jack, come on up. Mr. Daniels is here to talk about his memo and report, his analysis of our construction fee ordinance. We started this briefly this last meeting with some data that Jack provided. It was a comparison and a review of ordinances in other municipalities and our own ordinance. I have to give him a lot of credit for this project. One, because there's no standardization for ordinances, how they're laid out, how they're written, their table and all this stuff. There's standardization in fees to some degree prescribed by the state, but they're all over the place in their code books. So Jack did a great job looking at these other towns to give you a great analysis and comparison. So in his spreadsheet, he's looked at what other towns have, what our applicable section that compares is, or if they have something we don't, or if we don't have something that they do, or if the state has something that we don't have in terms of a fee for certain things, and he prepared his memo on that. So, are there any questions? The next step would be, he's given you the spreadsheet, but then that, if we wanna move ahead with an ordinance after the discussion here today, he would work with Tiana to draft that ordinance, and whatever the amendments would be. But all the fees that he's proposing are within the guidelines provided to us by the state, because you can't exceed those amounts either. So with that, do you want Jack to say anything first, or do you want to start off with questions? And I just want to preface, sorry, the genesis for this also, and I mentioned it at the last meeting, is construction is a department that generates revenue but also has expenses. The more work, the more inspections, the more activity that's going on in town, the greater our costs are for personnel. And our personnel costs are going up in terms of inspectors and the hours they perform. However, if the fees aren't adjusted, and in many cases they have not been adjusted or increased, and in some places they don't exist for the services we're providing, what ends up happening is the taxpayers have to absorb that cost. It's in our operating budget. So the goal and the hope is, in adjusting these fees, it becomes a fee service. People who are, deriving the benefit of that service are paying for their work, rather than it being subsidized by the taxpayer. And with the ever-increasing cost to the municipal budget, it's ideal if we can try and strive for a neutral department in terms of the cost to the budget. So that's what Jack's proposal here accomplishes, or hopes to accomplish.
Thank you. You read my mind, because that's what
Yes.
I wanted to make sure residents had that overview. I think it's not so much rising costs. I think that you guys had a lot more. When I look at the volume is a lot more than it was in the past. So, and we're not covering our expenses, and it's a use fee that the people, the expense that's incurred should be covered by the people that are using it,
Correct.
as opposed to all taxpayers.
Yeah.
So that's how this analysis came about, and your analysis, and I appreciate the spreadsheet, was very helpful, the comparison to other towns and to
Thank you.
what we have currently and what you're recommending. You're really trying to close a gap, either stuff that we're not charging for that everybody else charges for.
That's part of the biggest problem, is that there's a lot of things the state has changed. And when I say a lot of things, meaning requirements of what needs to get inspected and who needs to do the inspection, that we frankly don't have the ability in the ordinance to collect a fee for that. Fire pump as an example. And this came about because we had a fire pump go in, and I looked in the ordinance as to how, because a lot of inspections, a lot of work associated with that, we had to do it for free, because there's nothing in the ordinance. So that's what a lot of this takes care of. Leveling the field, as well as putting in things that are not there that should have been there, and matching the stuff the state has, that the state had made changes to, such as the mechanical subcode. That's a mandate now. That was an optional before. Now that it's been a mandate, they also mandate us to do it as a flat fee, instead of, for this device and that device and this device, it's a flat fee based on an appliance. So flat fee cost, and if there's an additional appliance, there's an additional cost for that appliance. It also helps to make the contractors and the homeowners easier to try to figure out the permit cost.
Mhm.
So there's the ability for folks to add that into the budget instead of trying to guess at what it's going to be. So it hopefully will accomplish a bunch of those things.
Yeah, I think I had plenty of information here, and I appreciate all the analysis, so I didn't have any questions.
Mr. Daniels, your comment about it would facilitate applicants' ability to more accurately estimate permit costs, and that
Mhm.
would be because our permitting fee structure is more, in line with other towns. That is, say, it's kind of more a standardized appearance in terms of the matrix of fees, or
No,
make
it's
it easier or facilitate an applicant to better estimate
It's more from the absence of things and not being in line with the state. There's an initiative I'm sure most of you are familiar with the initiative with the solar systems. Right now, there's no way to really hone in on that cost. And the state knows that, solar companies know that, the solar initiative folks know that. So there's been a mandate put out that the proposal will take care of to standardize that and make it I don't want to say it's not a flat fee, it's a fee based on the kilowatt hours of the panels that are going, the system that's going in versus how many inverters, how many panels, this item, that item. There's really nothing in our ordinance that addresses leveling that out to just, okay, how much is the system? This system costs you this much. And that was one of the mandates that the initiative had put out quite a while ago when I was in another township. So, and we've gotten that complaint. So, in reference to your question, to answer your question, it helps the people to become a standardized fee ordinance in line with not only the state, but what's going on around the communities around. So they can look at our ordinance online, of course, and then not have to guess like they're doing right now with some of the issues.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Your solar panel example, and if it's done by calculation of kilowatt hours, that's pretty cut and dry, and I can appreciate how someone can then say, all right, I know how much, pretty accurately what my permit fee is gonna be.
Exactly.
Understood, thank you.
Yeah. Some of it is leveling out or I should say rounding off to make the numbers, and another aspect of that is to make the numbers easier to figure out, make it a little bit faster, make it a little bit more rounded numbers instead of all the different values, like for construction costs associated with renovations. Right now, the cost is .036 per cubic foot. 0.04. I mean, come on, you make it easy. It's easier to calculate it out that way. So there's some items in there that need to be identified. When I say identified, one of the aspects is under the plumbing subcode. That one is the one that subcode is the one that's experiencing the most changes. I'm taking out a lot of stuff in there and trying to make it as simple as possible by charging by an appliance or by a fixture. The challenge with that is that there's no real definition, or there's a limited definition of what an appliance or a fixture is. So I would have that added into the ordinance. This item fits into this category. There's no guessing. And that's what we're doing right now. We're guessing on where this is because there's no clear definition in the ordinance as to what fixture or what appliance goes where.
For a home builder who would do this repeatedly, is your opinion that by setting up our fee structure, it would provide clarity and would facilitate him or her to be able to proceed with his work, file the applications, file for the permits, so on and so forth?
Correct.
Okay. They're not really, okay, fair enough. Thank you. I have no further questions. I don't know if anyone else on the dais does. Comments?
No, I'm pretty good too. I thank you for the effort that you went through and the analysis and the detail. I think it's good, very great, terrific proactive effort.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to sit here and explain it to you, or if you have any questions, answer those. The last item that I would say is just, I did put it in the memo, is that the ordinance hasn't been looked at as far as a major overhaul and update since 2011. So it's quite outdated with the stuff that we have seen in the state code and how things have been added.
Can I ask, you had, where did it go? One of the items, subcode off-hour inspection requests, do we get a lot of those, or you're just trying to make sure you can cover it in case you want to accommodate something like that?
I couldn't hear what you were saying.
There's an amount for subcode off-hour inspection requests. Do we
Yeah.
get those, or that's?
Yes, we do. So if facilities, and it's more the commercial side, which we don't have too much of, but it could happen, that's why I want to have it in there, is it's been my experience, like when the facility has to do a shutdown, it's more on the electrical side, and they're changing out of service, they have to shut down everything. They can't do that when they're on operation hours, so it's usually an overnight thing.
Oh,
So that incorporates that, or if they've got to kill power to install a transformer inside the facility, if they have to shut things down, they, again, normally do that on off hours.
Okay,
So this covers that.
great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Jack on the report as well? Dismissed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, the alarm is not gonna go off tonight.
As long as
No,
it doesn't
it's-
You're-
flatline.
Well, you're all in the wrong line of, we're all in the wrong line of business. It's $600 an hour to come out after service, after, yeah. So. Thanks,
Turn it
Jack.
off and turn it back on.
We keep doing
I
that.
thought Greg was playing some kind of game over there, that's all.
There's a silence button and there's some trip that he's tripping. Silencing it.
Should we do that?
All right, next item, on workshop is, sort of an update, but just also to make sure there's no objections. The chief has been working with the county and Madison on, matter related to, drug overdoses, drug reporting, mental health reporting. There is a system that would help both the county and the municipalities in tracking and reporting this information to the state and having systems talk and really improving communication right now. But there is no system to do that right now that we presently have. And so the chief worked with the Madison chief and with the county prosecutor's office to identify there's this module here that would have to be sort of programmed and purchased. And in order to do that, there's a cost associated with it. So if the two municipalities, Madison and Chatham Township, split that cost, it would be about $10,000 each. The reason it's Madison and Chatham Township also is because we are the only, Chatham Borough, for example, they didn't receive opioid grant funding. So we did, Madison did, not all towns received the opioid grant, the opioid settlement funds. So that's why it's just the two of us involved in this conversation about splitting this cost and utilizing the opioid settlement funds for this. An individual at the county prosecutor's office did review the terms of the settlement agreement and identified the section in there that allows for us to use some of these funds for that purpose. So I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of this, and that, our efforts to do our part in this ongoing battle with drug addiction and respond and to have the resources needed, is something that's still very much on our law enforcement professionals' minds and on their docket, and to see if you have any objections to the use of the opioid settlement funds, some of the opioid settlement funds, for that purpose. That ensures that also it's not coming out of our operating budget and affecting taxpayers, and it's a great use, I think. It's exactly what some of the funds are envisioned for. No objections
No, I think it's
Okay.
great.
or questions?
No, I mean, I was pleased to see, it looks like from the chief's report, they're having success with the Arrive program. I think that's a county, or it started with the
Correct.
county? Yeah.
And that was, I think we signed on to it. I don't know if it required governing body approval or not, but it's something that he and I had been working with on that
Yeah.
agreement. We signed on board with that not too long ago.
Yeah, I remember that, where a counselor goes out with,
Yes.
on mental health calls. So, and it sounds like that's going very well. So this will just help with that program, to facilitate that program. So I think that sounds great, yeah, especially because we have the opioid funds and the police chief is recommending it, so.
Correct. And I think that's also a good thing, not to, what I had suggested early on when we started getting this money is let's not rush to spend it all just because we've got it, because you don't know what is going to come down the pike. And, there may be ideas that we haven't thought of and good uses for this, and this is exactly it. So we will still have some money in the account, quite a bit of money, but this is a drawdown. We've so far, I think, made 3 sort of larger, or this would be the 3rd larger drawdown. Some of the drawdowns that we've made were for Narcan kits, I think 2 years ago, and then this year Our municipal alliance requested some funds for drug neutralization pouches as well that they give out at events. So if there's, prescription medication or anything else, you put this in this pouch. It's a solution that then neutralizes the drug, so you make sure they don't get in the wrong hands as well. So that was the most recent drawdown, and not a huge expense, but because this is a larger expense, I just want to make sure you're aware of it.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, thank you. Monthly reports, any other questions on any of the monthly reports received?
No? Okay, please proceed.
And so, Mayor, we had discussed if there's anything on the consent agenda right now that anybody wants to talk about, because we're a combined workshop regular meeting, now might be an appropriate time if there's any questions on those.
Yeah, because we have a dual format, and before we exit the workshop portion of our session and enter into the regular meeting, I did want to provide the opportunity to anybody on the committee who would like to, who may have questions or comments with regard to any of the resolutions as part of the consent agenda.
I do not. I think we've covered most of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, did you,
Do you want me to present on this?
Sure.
Is there a way to present from my computer
Catherine,
onto there?
connect.
might be,
I know,
If you had told me ahead of time, I could have sent you the Zoom link.
I know. That's why I'm asking you now.
Okay, 3 o'clock this afternoon would have been the time.
Do you have like an HDMI cord or anything I can just connect or not?
if you could, let me think, if you could email it to me?
No, I'm gonna log in here and send him the webinar
I
link
mean,
that he's
I could
already
go-
got.
He could send you a Zoom link, so you could do it directly through Zoom.
So we can,
okay.
and then I gotta, give me a minute with
Sorry
this
for
one.
This was an impromptu thing, and
You're presenting, I didn't even know.
I gotta log in there with my personal account, get that logged in. Invitation.
I don't want to steal his thunder. Simply doing nothing. I think it's really
Oh,
before
it's, yeah,
I was
yeah.
thinking and reading and listening. It wasn't so bad.
I was trying to pay attention in the picture.
It's like sound torture.
That was so funny to see him, because I looked familiar, but, Jan always used to say, "Hey, Dan is my swim coach, and he works as your town engineer, have you met him?" I'm like, "No, I haven't met him." But that's the first time I've met him here.
there,
Still not a coach, is it?
I don't know, actually.
do you
I can't
have,
remember,
hey,
I think it was
Z,
with
do you have the Zoom
Somerset
link
Hills.
or do you?
I emailed you, go
Okay.
on your email and come in as a panelist. So that's the only way you're gonna be able to share?
Did not get it. I did not get it.
Your Chatham Township email address?
Yeah.
It's coming from Zoom. Check your junk mail as well.
Alex, you gonna be able to filter out that noise for the,
I'm slowly going to say everything.
for the, well, I guess the YouTube post is what it is, right? Or does she fix it up and then repost?
No, it's live. Go straight.
I did not get it. Do you have, join if you have a meeting
Hey,
ID.
try resending it.
Sorry, I know the anticipation is killing everybody. If there isn't a password, do you want to just read off the meeting ID?
I need you to come in as a panelist, not as a
Oh.
member of the public.
Okay.
Or you can go in through the agenda, which is on the website. And I can add you that way.
I'm not getting an email from you.
It's coming from Zoom, not from me. It's coming
Oh.
from Zoom.
What do you mean from?
I went into Zoom, I sent you the link through Zoom.
There's no
Did you try refreshing? Did you refresh?
How do I refresh?
Still.
I don't know how it works. Reset.
Yeah, that's what I was.
No, let me try again. See.
Hold on, hold on. Are you connected to the internet?
Yeah, I am.
You want to take a
Spinning.
5-minute break while we're, or no?
Okay, try going into your spam, yes. Focus other, what is, hitting other, what is that, no? This is
I
your,
can't
yeah,
go
this
in.
is your,
If you go into the agenda on the website, you can go in as a member of the public, then I can promote you to panelist, and we could have already been there.
Where would I find the agenda on the website?
On the agendas page, if you go to mayor and committee, agendas,
You just have to show me, 'cause I can't.
it's the same Zoom link for all, so just. If it's the Zoom link, then yeah. Then it should pop up on there to,
Yeah, and then I'll share my screen. Okay, good. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'll try to make this fairly quick because it's been a long night, but the goal of this is about talking about communications for Chatham Township. So I know this is a little hard to read from on there, but the challenge that I kind of looked at was just that despite this kind of always-on connected world, the people in Chatham Township are not terribly connected to all the things that we do around here, evidenced by the empty room, but they seem to be either too busy or to not maybe necessarily care. And then they gather some information most of the time from places, resources that may or may not always be correct, which is social media, as we talked about, like the intersection of Fairmount and River Road, and a lot of hoopla goes on around there. And it's, while social media is a great sounding board and everything, it also is filled with a lot of POVs that are not always, well informed. So the goal here is to how do we inform people a little bit more aggressively, and especially in sort of a town where we do actually have a couple of news outlets, one of which is filming me right now, but there's only two that report on news, one of which is behind a paywall. If you want to read what's going on, you actually have to pay for it. And, the other is run by one person most of the time who seems to be everywhere all the time, but it's pretty hard for him to actually pay attention to every single thing that's going on. Thank you very much for all your efforts, Ed. So in light of all that, I think that the communications, when I first threw my hat into the ring to actually join this committee or run for this committee, there was an old website, and I think significant improvement has happened over the last year, much to Z's efforts and other members on the committee. The website is a lot more user-friendly. The newsletter is kind of out and about. It's moving forward. There is an alerts-based communications effort for emergencies and for needs-based kinds of things. And I think the social channels, to the best of everyone's abilities on the limited resources, are updated as frequently as they can be. We don't have full-time staff doing social media updates, and to that end, too, I'm not so sure should be the primary source for people being informed in this town. So when I knocked on all these doors throughout my whole campaign, I think overall residents really felt that communications could be better, because that was pretty much a straw poll, right? So of course communications can be better, can always be better. But in light of that, they still won't necessarily take the steps necessary in order to be proactively opting into everything. So the question is, how do we kind of meet them in the middle between all of this stuff? So what we were thinking is an app. So the Chatham Township mobile app. And what we think this would be mostly a news and information resource for residents to feel more informed and more connected to their local government, and an opportunity for important updates to be pushed to notifications, for residents to be informed of things that are taking place, meetings that are happening, events that are taking place, purely informational, right? A direct line for people to communicate with members of the committee and or voice their concerns. And it also kind of shows a progressive way for us to show that we're kind of meeting people and giving them another way to communicate and connect with the town and all the things that are going on. So when we think about sort of what the app would look like, I kind of made a few assumptions. The first one is that stage one, at least let's say beta version 1.0, would be mostly informational, right? This is really just push notifications, news events that I talked about, no e-commerce. We're not talking about permitting. We're not talking about building constructions. We're not talking about payments. We're not paying, sewage payments or taxes or anything along those lines. So it's not a commerce-based thing. It could evolve to that, but that's not where we're going right now. An integration with the website and channels. So one way so that if you actually push a notification on the app, it would also update the website. It would also update the social channels. So it's an easier way for people to manage multiple channels at once. And then also be very, very low maintenance. How can we make this as low maintenance as possible and yet still meet the demands that are required of an app presence? Because again, back to my earlier point, we don't have that many resources in terms of personnel that can manage all of these things, and we're adding another layer. So how do we make this a little bit more connected so that we can have sort of a central hub and all channels are updated simultaneously? So there's a couple ways you can go about building an app. There were 3 avenues I pursued. I'm not going to go through all of these because in my preliminary meeting with the mayor and with Mr. Jahadi, We kind of landed on a plug-and-play solution. I did build in my spare time a prototype app just to show them what it would look like, but it was far from complete, and it needed a lot of work. And there are a couple of vendors out there that offer plug-and-play solutions built specifically for municipalities. So GoGov is one of those, which is pretty much the top of the line. It has kind of all the bells and whistles. It's designed specifically for city halls and municipalities. It does have one-click integrations for notification systems. Text and phone notifications are actually an add-on because those are carrier costs that go with that. But if you just have an in-app notification system, all of that is considered part of the package and free. There's unlimited training. They have a team of people that are at the ready, and it'll be fully branded for Chatham Township. There are things that I really, really like about this, just sort of the ease of use, the one-click ability. There are a lot of advanced features in this, some of which might actually allow us to remove other systems that we have. They offer marketing launch kits, so imagine kind of every one of our events, we have download apps at the library, maybe there's a download app. We're basically trying to encourage people to download and have access. And this is pretty much, if you ask anybody, this is what they're attached to. It's on their person. It's their devices are at the ready. And if we are careful and strategic about how we push our notifications, it will bring the residents a little bit more closer into the government and what we're doing here, without abusing that kind of notification system. And then the last thing I kind of like about it is that they just have a full support and maintenance team, and it's pretty quick development. It can be up and running within sort of about a 4-week time period. What I don't necessarily like about it is it's just kind of a bit of a cookie cutter approach. So that's kind of the way you go with a lot of these plug and play solutions. You can't really customize the user interface behind it, but it's sufficient for the needs that we have. And while the costs run about $5,000 a year, I got them down to about $4,000 a year, which they would lock in for a 3-year price if we're interested. If you think about that exponentially, I have a hard time with that. I'm a scrappy developer kind of guy, and you add $5,000 a year over a 5-year period of time, you could have built one yourself by then, and it's kind of hard to justify in my mind. But the pros outweigh the con in terms of the support and not reliant on 1 or 2 developers to actually create the things that we need to have and make changes to. So the concept, that's pretty much the concept of what I wanted to present. There were a couple of other vendors, but this one was pretty much the one that landed as the best, the most features, the easiest plug-and-play solution, and probably the lower of the costs between the two of them from the demos that I did. So I hope that makes sense. I think that this is a really good way for us to connect with residents, and it's not meant to replace anything in particular. It's just meant to augment the communications that we do and keep people informed and provide them a way to weigh in on matters, even when we ask them for, comments about anything that we're doing. They can easily comment very quickly and send a note to us to weigh in on things. Yeah. Trying to think if there's any other things. So yeah, this is what I presented to the mayor and the administrator, and I do think that I've come around to sort of the cost associated with it, because I think that it's just a really good solution, and I think it ticks a lot of the boxes for us to communicate with residents.
Well, thank you for all the effort. I appreciate that. I love the idea of an app. I guess I just wish it had more functionality. The question I have is, of course, residents can still go on their phone and go onto the website and make payments and take care of the processing. Within the app, is there a web view to
Yeah.
that?
So we would have widgets basically that would say like pay something, and it would, if they click on it, it would open up the web browser directly on the site. So the purpose of this isn't just for news and updates and everything, but easier access to information that's on our website. So it would be a direct mirror of the website, so if you write a blog post, which is basically a news article, it'll display as a news article on the app. But for payment functionality, if you need to renew a pet license or something like that, you would basically click the button, it would open up the browser that is directly on that.
Great,
Yeah.
Because that's, I think if we can have that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
People will be more interested in that. I would say, because I know, getting the
Your mic,
Microphone?
your mic, sorry.
getting the browser updated, I know has been a slow, a progression, or website, I should say, getting it updated has been a progress that we've had to pace. And the mobile view sometimes is a little deficient. So if we build that functionality, which I think we want to maximize the use of this, at, 4,000 or 5,000, 4,000 a year, I would just say we have to enhance the mobile view that we have within the
Yeah,
website.
it wouldn't change the website functionality if you go on to chathamtownship.org. It's not going to change anything on the website of the mobile view, but opening up the app will take you to all the quick links that are necessary to find on the app. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so my point, what I'm trying to say is, I don't know if I've actually made payments on my phone or on my digital, but, I know every time I try and book to have my kid's car outside when they have friends over, it's to get into the police app, so you could sign up to have your car on the road. It's hard to find, it's hard to view, it's very difficult. So I'm just saying, if we're gonna add that functionality to the mobile, let's make sure it works when it
Yeah, no
goes
doubt,
into
no
the
doubt
web
about
view.
it. So
Yeah.
there's no doubt about it. We'd have to, I don't know specifically which forms and all those details, but the payment gateways and the forms that are necessary to fill out, we can talk separately about making them electronic on the website or just being able to print from your phone directly and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
wonderful.
yeah.
Sounds
So-
great.
As records custodian, if we do something like that, any content that we push out through such an app, we would need to make sure that we're archiving, because anything that we push out would be subject to open public records
Yeah,
requests.
so, and I think that's the other advantage of this versus a developer, and I wouldn't know such things, right? An organization like this is very attuned to government, municipality organizations. They have a clerk section. I'm sure there's things that they can work with you on.
Yeah, I'd imagine a vendor like this probably has something like that. I just want to make sure that we
Yeah.
look into that before we go forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have you've got a menu of features and functionality, and, in the event you go with GoGov, for example, and we roll this out, what do you envision as being the first 3-5 key features that we must offer in order for people to feel compelled to download and use?
I think it's all the quick links for things that they need to have access to, right? So it could be sort of the, whatever things that people are going to on our current website, I'd need to do that analysis and kind of understand that. Why do people come to our website to start with? And then secondarily, I think it's news, it's events, it's updates, and all of those kinds of things that are within that. But I think we have to provide them with a, and I think this is all part of the discussion as we build this out, What are the key things? And you can see on this slide, these are kind of the widgets of like the click-throughs. So you might have agendas and meetings at the top that take you to another page, but, it could be building construction section, it could be, pet licenses right there, it could be taxes, and it would direct people that quickly to the places on our website.
So how it technically works then is the app points to the different portions of
Correct.
our actual website.
Because our website is that complex, that has so many different layers, majority of the content would mirror what's on the website directly and not be having to be built on the app and loaded on the app and updated in two places. It's actually just an API direct connect. But I think there will be the back-end interface, which I can share with you all separately, with the demo that I did. There's just a dashboard where you can type the information and it'll push the notifications out. And it would be an in-app notification, not like a text alert notification. So, you know how like when your app has like a 1 number on it or a 2 number, or some people have 35 or 75, it'll just be in the app. It's not gonna directly update, like text alert you on your phone. Like, oh, we have a new notification through text message. That's too much of an annoyance. But news, information, meetings happening, you know, all that stuff. Yeah.
Craig, local communities that are using such an app, like, you know, does the
Yeah.
borough have something, Madison, you know, who has some experience
I'm not,
with
I
this?
think the town of Maplewood might be doing this already. Others, not so many that I know of. I think that's also a really good thing. I mean, not that that's a good thing, but I think it shows that we're ahead of the curve in a lot of ways. There are a lot of towns that are using it for election notifications. Morris County government, I think, is doing that, like specifically an app for local elections, telling them where the ballots are, like ballot boxes are, where to go vote, and all of those details. And they have a range of other, I mean, tons of demos with other local municipalities around the United States, but I don't believe there are too many that are local.
To the extent Maplewood is implement this or considering implementing this, that would be a great.
They've been very progressive with their communications. I'm not sure if it was this one or if it was InfoGrove, which was the other vendor that we looked at. But they've been very progressive with their communications. Yeah. So I think that, you know, if I haven't said it enough already, I do think that there, even when we over-communicate, but in the experience that I've seen so far in this committee, we have actually communicated a lot. We're in these meetings, we have the workshop meetings, we talk about things. I think the media does their best job to cover all of those things, and yet if you throw a dart and you ask somebody, they will feel uninformed. This brings them a little bit closer.
Trying to find Maplewood's app.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that, but there were a handful, I mean, on GoGov, I can send you links to, and you can just download the apps and see what,
Yeah.
what things people are using them for.
I thought the borough had something, or was working on something, I thought.
They have the alert, like
Yeah, just
the alert notification system, and they're very thorough with it.
Yeah.
And we have an alert notification system too. They happen to have more resources
Yeah.
to, you know, staff it. Yeah. So, I don't really know next steps, what further information is needed. I would encourage, I can share with you the demo that I did as well too, if you're all interested in it. I was a little rude in the beginning part because I wanted to cut through the chase and just get it along. I was pretty well aware of the system already. That's my only caveat before I send you the link. But I think it would be a really big improvement, so.
Right?
So, you know, conceptually, one of the things that I like to think we're proffering up is the eGov initiative, finding ways to get information timely and meaningfully out to our constituents. We've obviously got the website. There is already a pre-existing landscape of tools and ways in which our residents, I think, get information. And you know, I would characterize it perhaps as disparate and you know, a varying mix of tool sets that people are using. If you talk from one resident to another, there is the Facebook website. We have an alert system. And we have our traditional website. I would imagine it's probably one or two more social media platforms that our residents are using. So there is an existing landscape of tools out there, and for us to have an understanding how this would fit in, and to the extent that it could, perhaps be central way that, or one of the, primary ways that residents become informed by the township. I think that's a serious, central consideration. When I originally thought of the eGov, I never thought of a mobile app. In my discussions, I felt the website was more than adequate, and I was led to believe that this was definitely going to be the pathway forward for at least well communicating municipalities. So I'm very open-minded. I think this, if it works, I used to be in venture capital for a number of years, so I've seen a lot of technology, a lot of apps come and go, and even if I've studied it more critically, I still couldn't tell you what made one fail and another succeed. So, and notwithstanding the fact that they're pretty much all very well designed, so I would like to, I wanted to proffer this up for opinion, thoughts, throw things to the wall, see what sticks. Craig is passionate about this, and I think this could potentially have a place in terms of how we communicate with our residents. I am far from an expert in how mobile apps are working in the municipal field, but
Well, I think you can also do a little bit of analysis post, and I think it can be prototype to start with too. I don't think the cost of entry is not terribly expensive, that you can beta it out, and if there isn't a high adoption rate and people aren't taking to it, okay, I mean, you tried at the end of the day, unless we signed a 3-year contract, in which case it's a little bit more. But I have a strong feeling, and you can probably do a poll somehow to start with to see if we did a prototype example, would you adopt this? Would you download it and get sort of a visceral reaction from residents prior to actually moving forward?
at the end of the day, I would love to see, we've got, approaching 12,000 residents, that, I would love to see multi-thousand downloads of the app, and this becoming a
Yeah.
way in which people get informed and, pay for things perhaps.
Yeah.
Functionality can be quite diverse, but, yeah, so.
For sure, and I think I think with that is a permission for us to interact with them, and we have to be respectful of that too, because this is in their pockets, and we need to be careful about how frequently we are communicating with them,
Yes, multiple existing touch points, and how would this establish an anchor amongst that landscape, and can this grow to be a central way that people get their information? So wanted to take it to the broader committee and get some thoughts, get some feedback back to Craig and myself even, and we'll see what next steps are for this, but.
Yeah, I'd love to see the demo, and I'd love to see if we could find an example of another town who's doing it, just to get a sense of how robust it is. I'm also curious their subscription rates in terms of what, how many people subscribe since they issued. But yeah, whatever, I'm just curious to see it in action. It would
Yep.
be nice.
sure thing.
Yeah.
With the seamless integration with social media, is that where we post stuff on the website and social media, and it automatically goes to the app?
It would kind of be the other way around. You'd actually be on the app, and it would post to Facebook, and like whatever you're posting, like in the app, will post to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you want. Yeah.
Cool.
So instead of you right now going behind the keyboard and posting on Facebook and then copying and pasting it on Instagram and everywhere else too, you can actually target which apps you're sending it to.
Which, that would help somewhat with my concern about archiving, since we already use a service for archiving Facebook and Instagram, so.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, we'll stop
Great.
here.
Thank you, committeeman. That was an excellent presentation.
Sure thing.
Mr. Shahadi, hold on, let's see where we are here. So with that, I would like to formally conclude the workshop portion of our session, move into the regular meeting session of our meeting. And I'll start out with the mayor's message for this evening. Last night, our community experienced the relentless forces of a heavy storm that fully saturated the grounds, taxed our stormwater management systems, caused flooding that damaged homes and property, and made roadways, even major highways, impassable. Even my child, along with 150 other children, spent a portion of their first night at a local overnight sports camp in darkness due to a power outage. I want to thank the Township Police, Emergency Squad, and our Public Works crews who stood at the ready and mobilized as needed to administer care to residents, patrol roads to ensure they are safe and passable, restore services, and ensure our residents' overall safety. As for tonight's committee and workshop meeting, I want to share a few highlights of the important work local government is advancing to improve infrastructure, improve services, and maintain good fiscal health. We are awarding a contract for the long-awaited Hillside Avenue Road Improvement Project, funded in part by a $260,000 DOT grant. We are also authorizing the purchase of a new generator for the Southside Pump Station, with funds already allocated in our 2024 capital budget to improve our emergency preparedness and wastewater system reliability. As mentioned in prior meetings, we are preparing to make long-awaited major upgrades to our sewage treatment facility, including new headworks, clarifiers, and aeration basins, all critical for compliance and service longevity. This evening, we are taking the first step by engaging with our trusted professional organization to begin the design and preparatory work for what will be a many month-long capital improvement project. The committee is making changes to the Qualified Purchasing Agent Protocols, QPA, in order to streamline the steps whereby the township can properly conduct business with third parties. The changes here are for smoother, more nimble governance while still maintaining appropriate oversight and transparency in the process. The committee can confidently endorse such a move because of the trusted, experienced personnel we have at Myersville, namely Debbie King, our QPA and CFO. Additional actions include the Chatham J.C.'s granted Chatham Township Environmental Commission. Bill Heap, Jim Connolly, and others, I thank you sincerely for your longstanding support to the Environmental Commission, as well as numerous other civic organizations in the township. We will also discuss updates on Esternay Field with the ADA compliant improvements, as we did earlier, as well as study more deeply the Fairmount Ave and River Road intersection, which we did earlier, to consider the optimal circulation and traffic design to make travel more safe and efficient. So I thank you, our residents, professionals, and volunteers for your continued engagement and partnership in continuing to make Chatham Township a desirable place to live. Thank you. If I may now move on to committee reports. May I start with Committeeman Alperowitz?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Actually, I do not have any reports to share this evening.
Well then, thank you. Committeewoman Ewald?
Likewise, it's been a quiet summer, so I do not have any reports at this time.
Committeeman McHugh?
The Irishman's got to talk. It won't be long. Essentially, we'll start with, for planning purposes, as folks return from summer, I'm not getting ahead of myself, but there will be the sustainability fair that the Environmental Commission will join with the borough, and there'll be great games and learning opportunities there. As far as the library goes, during the months of July and August, the library is offering drop-in story times for young children, both on Monday and Tuesday mornings. On July 29, the library is hosting a car basics workshop presented by the local Chatham mechanics from Bauer Automotive Service. Importantly, the library will be holding a wine tasting event on August 6th, so you can check the website and check that out. And on the library will be sponsoring 2 finance workshops, one on July 22nd and one on August 11th. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Committeeman. I'd like to make aware a walk with the mayors. This is an event, it's a part of the program for the Mayor's Wellness Campaign. Monthly during the summer, local mayors gather together to walk a municipality's trail. We trade notes, engage with residents, and perhaps most importantly, get a little bit of exercise enjoying the outdoors. The next one on the docket is at 12 p.m. Gee, not the date now. It's on our website, the Chatham Township website, so one excellent reason to go make use of information that's elegantly portrayed there. It is at Drew University Forest, located at 36 Madison Ave in Madison. Carolyn Dempsey, Mayor of Chatham Borough, and Bob Conley, Mayor of Madison, and myself will be there. So please join us, mark your calendars, and let's enjoy a good walk. That is it for my report. So if there's nothing else, I now seek a motion to approve the consent agenda comprised of Resolution 2025-147 through Resolution 2025-157.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second.
Mr. Alperowitz,
Yes?
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mr. McHugh,
Yes.
Mayor Choi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. On to our second hearing of citizens. Mr. LeConte, do we have anyone online?
Nobody at all.
At this time, I invite anyone in the audience to come before the mic, in the event they'd like to do so. I see no one, so I shall close the second hearing of citizens. And with that, I believe we'll move into the continuance of the executive session for a brief period.
Mayor, it is important to note, though, for the public, that we will not take action at the conclusion of executive session.
Yes,
Something
great.
we do
And
not say.
we also need to state the subject matter. Is it contract
Still contract
negotiations?
negotiations.
Okay. We need a motion.
Do I
and
have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr.
Now in executive
Alperowitz,
session.
Yes.
Oh,
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mr. McHugh,
Yes.
and Mayor Choi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte.
Recording stopped.
I was trying to find the date of your walk. I didn't do it fast enough.